Hi, lacrosse fans. Welcome back to the 20th episode of the Sticks and Picks Lacrosse podcast presented by Lacrosse Unlimited. Lacrosse Unlimited provides the best equipment, apparel, and lacrosse footwear since 1990. You can visit their website at lacrosseunlimited.com for all your lacrosse needs. I'm your host, Will Petchnig, alongside co-host Jake Fox. In today's episode, we talk to a pioneer of US Lacrosse. His love, passion, and dedication for the game of lacrosse is what drives him to grow the creator's game. Connor Wilson talks to us about the US game, his love for box lacrosse, the LaxNai Tournament in Prague, and his LaxNai Tournament in the Onondaga Nation. LaxNai is without a doubt one of the best lacrosse tournaments in the world. He's a true ambassador of the sport of lacrosse. His passion and love for the game is something truly special. He's the co-owner of Lacrosse AllStars and content director for them. He's an assistant coach for the Puerto Rican national lacrosse team, and he's also the head coach for City College of New York men's lacrosse. And he's also the co-founder of one of the coolest invitational lacrosse tournaments in the world called LaxNai in Syracuse, New York. Welcome, Connor Wilson.
Thanks for having me on, guys. How are we?
Connor, how are we doing?
Can't complain. I mean, I could. There's plenty to complain about, but I'm not going to go there.
Oh, we're definitely excited to have you on, and you do a lot for the game of lacrosse. And I was lucky enough to play with you over at the LaxNai Tournament a few years ago, and just knowing you is something truly great. So we're going to kind of dive right into your lacrosse career. And do you mind talking to us about how you got involved with the game of lacrosse?
Yeah, I mean, I was really fortunate. I grew up with two parents who had both played lacrosse in high school in Massachusetts, actually in the same town that I grew up in. The wooden sticks were out in the sports barrel, so they got picked up from time to time, thrown around the side yard, and it really was a family affair. There wasn't a boys lacrosse program in town when I lived there, so my dad and a bunch of other dads helped start that up with a rival town, and we got out in the field with them. And I just kind of started to fall in love with the game. I was playing a lot of different sports, hockey and soccer, and whatever I could kind of give a shot. And lacrosse was one of those things. As I kind of got into high school, I took it a little bit more seriously. We started a team at the high school while I was still there, and that was a really cool experience. Not necessarily because we won a ton of games. We probably won half of our games and qualified for the state tournament in our first 2 years. But that in and of itself for us was a huge success. And so that kind of got me started. Like, I've had this opportunity to play lacrosse because a bunch of dads started our high school team, a youth team, and then a bunch of dads and myself and a bunch of other students started a high school team, and it just kind of grew from there and went on to play in college in Connecticut for a fantastic coach in John Raba, and I think he instilled a greater love for the game in all of us. Everybody who played for him came out of there liking lacrosse, loving lacrosse even more than they did when they came in. So it's kind of just been one of those things where, it was all field lacrosse early on, but it was all spurred by other people starting things that didn't exist. And I was a beneficiary of that. So I think that kind of pointed me in the direction that I'd try to go for the rest of my life, was returning this gift that I had been given, by people that I really looked up to, not only as sporting men, but as gentlemen and, people of the world. So that's kind of the quick hitter, if you will.
How does a high school kid start a lacrosse program? What was the process of doing that, and how did that come around? Yeah,
I mean, I thought about maybe looking at a private school because they have lacrosse and we didn't. And then I thought about the commute every day, leaving friends that I had a bond with, the financial burden that it would put on my parents. There were a lot of considerations just to go play lacrosse. And then I kind of said, all right, well, what's the opportunity at Weston High School? And there was a chance to start a team. We had a women's team. My mom had played on that women's team. So why not start a men's team? So the process was really getting a lot of signatures, getting a lot of interest. We were fortunate that we had a youth lacrosse team in town already. So there was kind of that feeder. But out of a high school of 400 kids, I think we got 65 or 75 boys to sign a petition saying that they wanted to play lacrosse. Then there were a lot of roadblocks. We were a club team for 2 years where we pretty much had to self-fund. But the AD at the time, Pete Foley, he was a Navy guy, hadn't played lacrosse, but he believed in the sport. And he said, if you can make it work after 2 years, you can go varsity. And so there are a lot of trials and tribulations and ups and downs, and it was a long process to have to invest in. So you had to have a lot of faith, definitely, that what you were doing was the right thing and the right move. And, you had to find the right people. And we were fortunate that we found a coach who stepped in the first year of our club team, and he coached us, for the next 6 years until he passed away. So and he was a great coach. So we're really fortunate that it all kind of worked out. But it was just a lot of time, a lot of effort, and a lot of building community. Right? It doesn't happen with one person. It took 20, 30, 40, 60 people to make that happen. So.
Yeah, no, I'm pretty impressed by that because I was on the failing end of that. I tried to bring a high school team to my school when I was in the 8th grade at a school called Louis Riel in Ottawa, and that didn't work out, so I ended up having the private school route. But it's truly impressive that you were able to do that in high school. After that, you went on to Wesleyan University, as you mentioned, in Connecticut, where you were a dual athlete. You played football and lacrosse there. What was your experience like there?
Yeah, I had a great 4 years of playing lacrosse, and then I had an only somewhat embarrassing 5th year playing football. I'd never played, I played soccer all the way through high school. I wasn't a kicker. I wasn't much of a kicker on the soccer field either. So I thought maybe that skill set would transfer over to football. It was rough. I had a lot of fun. I was able to be middle linebacker on scout team in practice, which is probably where I got most of my action. By the end of the year, I earned a little bit of time on kickoff returns in 2 games where we got absolutely crushed. So I got a lot of repetitions, and I put one good block on somebody and suffered an ear hole hit on myself, which was just devastating. I got knocked into next week, but it was great. It was really fun to go out and try something new that was a challenge. You kind of look at yourself at 22 years old as being like, I'm the athlete I am. I know the sports that I know. So you go out and you try something that's totally different. It's a little humbling, but it was a great experience. And honestly, I think it makes me kind of a better coach in trying to bring football guys, hockey guys, soccer guys over to lacrosse, because I've seen the challenges of trying to bring an advanced athlete at one sport, somewhat advanced, but advanced to a certain level over to another sport to then play at the college level. There are difficulties there. So yeah, it was a great experience though.
You're speaking about challenges there. Right after your college career, you got right into coaching, and you stayed at your university, and you kind of helped out with the goalies, the face-offs, stick skills, and running the box. Can you kind of talk about that experience and what that challenge was like for you?
To see kind of the other side of how a college program runs, all of the work that's done outside of just showing up to meetings and just showing up to lift, and even the things that you take on as a captain of a team, there's a very different side to that when it comes to coaching. I also got a lot more opportunity as more of an equal under somebody like Coach Reba, and that was a chance to really see how a coach runs a program. To see what kind of values were important, how important consistency is on a day-to-day level, keeping an even keel, having a long-term vision, focusing on what's right in front of you. I mean, there were just so many things that you were learning. And then, running the box was actually a lot of fun. It has to be one of the most stressful jobs as a college coach, because you're getting screamed at by whoever is telling you to put the right people in, differs program to program. But then you also have to make some calls on the fly, and you better do the right thing. So, that was a great experience in terms of game management and seeing kind of how fast things can go. And actually that more than anything probably opened my eyes to how difficult it is to be a referee. And that's one of the things I got yelled at once because I was like going off on this official. The coach is just like, shut up. Like, you are making this worse. And I was. And so I didn't say anything. And I started to pay attention to that too, because you were involved in the flow of the game a lot more. So that was kind of like big lessons that you could take away from running the box and really focusing on being an assistant coach, was trying to see what these established coaches have been doing, what they value, what works, and trying to bring that into the coach that you want to be someday.
Yeah, you have a lot of coaching experience, obviously. You ended up being a volunteer coach for City Lax in New York. Talk about kind of your roles and responsibilities in doing that.
Well, that was a lot of fun. I started out there kind of working in Brooklyn at these winter clinics. And it's basically a free winter clinic over the weekend. Any public school player who wanted to show up and get better could show up. So you'd have a huge array of kids, from seniors who'd been playing 4 years to freshmen and seniors who were just picking up the stick for the first time, kids who didn't own a stick, kids who didn't have their own equipment, didn't know what lacrosse was, and then to kids who had played. So trying to kind of pull them all together and teach them the most fundamental things. What can you teach all of these kids, right? All of these kids from these diverse skill levels, different athleticism levels, what can you teach them all in a 2-hour window on weekends that's going to make them better, that's going to pay off? And I think that challenge really forced me to focus on what was important. In this case, we're talking about field lacrosse, but what was important in that game, right? Shooting overhand, shooting accurately, being deceptive, being confident, being able to make the pass and then cut to space. And these were very basic concepts. We weren't going to be able to teach them how to run, a 2-3-1 triangle offense. It wasn't going to happen, right? It just wasn't going to happen in 2 hours over 5 sessions. But what could we teach them that was valuable? And so that was kind of where I started with City Lax. And you just met kids from all over Brooklyn, got involved in some of the other clinics and development work that they were doing in Brooklyn at another site. I coached the high school team, started to kind of help start that high school team and then coach that team. And that was in Brooklyn too. And that was all through City Lax. And that was started by Matt Levine, who's a Williams lacrosse alum. They're a big rival of ours. And we were able to get past that, but that, joking aside, I think that's one of the great things about lacrosse is once the old rivalry kind of dies off and your days are done, we're all lacrosse players and looking to make a difference. So I've kind of tried to take as many cues as I can from Matt Levine. I think when it comes to growing urban lacrosse, he has a really high level of experience and success doing that. So, it's been a gift, again, to work for City Lax and, learn as much as I could learn, help out, and, try to grow the sport. When they started, there were 6 public school teams in the city. I think they were all for boys, maybe 1 girls team. And now there are 25 boys teams and 25 girls teams. So it's really, really an amazing experience to be a part of that.
You've also stamped your passport quite a few times in coaching. You ended up coaching in Australia for a little bit and then the Puerto Rican national team. So what were those experiences like for you? Obviously probably getting to travel quite a bit and see some cool parts of the world.
Yeah, I've been able to travel a lot, and a lot of that has come from a desire to play lacrosse somewhere else or coach lacrosse somewhere else. The Australia thing was kind of the first lacrosse thing that I did, and that was 2001. I took half a year off from school and moved down there and again, the draw in was coaching. I was coaching a under 13s and under 15s team. That was the draw. And then you could also play in their men's senior. I didn't know what it was. I knew Australia was good at lacrosse, but I had no idea. And you're just kind of going for the experience and to figure your life out a little bit. So I worked, in a bar down there. I built some stone walls and dig some ditches and, whatever I could do to kind of make my way through that experience for 6 months of living in another country. And that kind of opened everything up where all of a sudden you're like, all right, we could do this. I mean, that when somebody said, hey, do you want to go to Prague in 2012? I was like, yep, let's do it. Because you've done something already. And that's continued to lead on to things. So I've gone down to Puerto Rico and put on clinics down there for kids and coaches. Try not to mangle the Spanish language too badly when I do it. But yeah, it's you can do it all over. I've been to Thailand. I've coached and played in exhibition games in Thailand and played over in Prague and coached in Prague. And we coached in Hungary when we were at the 2016 Euros. I mean, that opportunity is out there. And if one thing is proof that you don't need to be a great player to do these things, I'm that proof. Because nobody's begging me to be on a roster, but if you go over and you're willing to give and be a part of something, then these opportunities continue to kind of manifest in your life.
You are currently the head coach at City College of New York. So we'll give you here your 2-minute spiel on why kids should come to City College and what makes it such a great place. Here's your little recruiting elevator pitch.
Well, this is an easy one. It's a challenging place that's in a good way, right? That's how New York City is. So if you're a high achiever, if you're looking for opportunity, you're not just looking to sit back in the dorm and play video games all day. Come to City College. You want to be a doctor, you want to be an engineer, come to City College. It's really affordable. You get to live up in Harlem, which is really the campus is amazing. The neighborhood is fantastic. There's good places to eat, music, all kinds of stuff. And then the City College itself is huge. It's 12,000 kids. You've got a doctor school, you've got a medical school, you've got people coming out of there with chemical engineering degrees. And I mean, so we have lacrosse players who are doing all of those things. They're getting an education, they're getting a cultural experience, and they're coming down to the city and they're paying state college fare. So especially if you're a New York State kid, you want to get out of wherever you are and come down and see the bright lights of the big city and see if you can cut it. I think City College is a great place. So there's a lot of opportunity there. We've had a lacrosse team on and off, intramural club, D1, D3, all kinds of stuff since 1888. So there's a long lacrosse history there. We have a super supportive group of alumni. And right now we're a club team, and it's an educational opportunity where you get to play lacrosse. And for the Canadians, we got a club hockey team. So if you want to come play club hockey and club lacrosse, come to the city. I don't know. I'm just saying it's got to be a draw. It's got to be a draw.
Well, I think that's definitely a great pitch for Canadians to play that, both hockey and lacrosse. And living in New York's not a bad gig either. So kind of going into more of your lacrosse history here, you were the co-founder of Lacrosse AllStars. Can you kind of talk to the fans what Lacrosse AllStars is for the fans who don't know?
Yeah, I've been a long-time reader Inside Lacrosse. I think that they do a fantastic job. I still have black and white newspaper style, hard mailings that we used to get from 1997. I still have those. Inside Lacrosse is awesome. But the sport of lacrosse itself is so big that there are things that are just not going to be able to be covered by one publication. So instead of starting up Lacrosse AllStars and saying we're going to cover Division I lacrosse, we're going to cover the MLL really heavily, we're going to cover the same kind of stuff that they were already covering, we kind of verged towards covering more Division III lacrosse and more international lacrosse and more box lacrosse. They've got IL indoor, but there wasn't front page box lacrosse coverage on IL. So, and now there is, right? And so I think we kind of broadened the horizon with Lax AllStars about what stories we were willing to talk about, what things that we thought were important enough that people might take interest or be able to learn from. So it kind of started from that place, and media companies change and grow, and now we cover more things and big things and little things, and so we're all over the place. And I think what we've done too is that we spawned a whole new generation of other media sites that are now out there. People who saw oh, okay, you did it. Inside Lacrosse isn't the only one anymore. Lacrosse Magazine isn't the only one, and now we can do it too. So there's a lot more media out there today, and if people are getting more access to the game and it's keeping us more honest, that's a good thing. So,
what have been some of your favorite memories with starting this company for in terms of growing the game and everything?
Yeah, I mean, I think sharing somebody's story who really needed their story to be shared. Those kind of moments, I think, where you redraw somebody into the game because you show that you care. It's kind of one of those things that sticks with you. I mean, it's Johnny Vegas has become this lacrosse personality, and when we're the first ones to kind of put up his story and work with him, and he's taking this off. He puts a team into Hawaii, and he runs a box team out in California, and he's got this passion for the game, and we can't take credit for that. But I hope that our story, and he said that it has, so this is why I can feel comfortable saying this. I hope that us telling his story, helping him share his story, inspired him to go on and do that for other people as well. So those are really the major benefits of it, and kind of why you do it, right? We started to grow the game. That was our big phrase, and we pushed it. And I think people may have been saying it for a long time before. It's a great phrase. I know it's existed in other sports a little bit, but it's become really synonymous with lacrosse. And we've really tried to push that message as much as we can, and just hope that other people embrace it however they embrace it. I'm not here to tell you this is how you grow the game. This isn't. But, take that out there and give more people the gift of lacrosse that you received. I don't know. Sounds good to me.
Talk about how, you basically said it. In the beginning, lacrosse was very monopolized when it came to Inside Lacrosse and Lacrosse Magazine were kind of the two dominant. So what were some of the process for you for starting a lacrosse company basically in the U.S.?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I was always really focused on the content side. And, it's hard because you see how kind of modern media operates in the United States, and you kind of sacrifice your voice. Even the best, media voices today, the most trusted sources, we all know that they have advertisers, and you don't want to piss them off too much because X, Y, and Z might happen. Like that's a reality of capitalism, right? Like we can all admit to that. So that I think was the biggest challenge, and trying to learn how to navigate, like, what do you want to say? What story do you want to tell versus who do you really need to go after? Who do you really need to, do you need to offend people? Probably not, but can the truth be offensive to people? It can be. So there's a real balancing act there. Especially I think in the US. That makes it a challenge, right? Because you're money driven, right? You can't keep a website open, even a website, which is minimal anything, right? It doesn't necessarily have a ton of cost. Like, but there are some costs, and then you have to pay yourself. So there's kind of this give and take between what you're talking about, and who you might be working with, or who you might want to work with in the future, or who really likes to sue people. I mean, so especially as a small company, right? So there are a lot of challenges in it, but I think it's been a good experience in terms of learning and figuring out how the world works.
Yeah, no, for sure. And you've done an amazing job, and just like your passion alone for lacrosse and growing the game is truly something special. So we're going to get into some fun here. We're going to do our word association game. So basically, Jake's going to give you some words, and basically you got to just come up with a player or someone involved in the game of lacrosse that you think goes with that word. And you can explain why, or you don't have to. You can just leave it simple, just person answer.
All right, let's do it.
All right, so your first word is fast.
Fast. I don't know. Gavin Prout might be my answer for like a lot of these questions. Honestly, Mikey Powell. Fast.
Ambassador.
Kyle Harrison. I think he's like, he puts the tie on regularly. Like he's an ambassador of the game. Like he suits up. He's ready.
I like that. Good Hopkins guy. School.
City College.
There you
Just
go.
because it is school first, and honestly, like, as far as college sports have gone, as seriously as I took them or you took them, like, it is about academics. I think we've lost focus on that a little bit. So, but I think City actually has a great focus on academics first.
Skills.
Lyle Thompson.
Greatest of all time. GOAT.
Gaylord Palace. I never saw him play, but if Wayne Gretzky says that that's the best lacrosse player he ever saw play, like, all right, I'll go with it.
Funny.
The GOAT. Will Petch. Who else? He was hysterical. I'll tell you, that entire Prague trip was.
It was kind of egged on by the McFarland goats there, Mike and Brendan McFarland.
Oh, no question. They were definitely prime guilty targets.
Next word's lazy.
Lazy. Unfortunately, me right now, I gotta start training again. This is like I'm getting old, so the muscle mass falls off real quick. And 15 years of nothing is not helping me out. So I'm lazy.
Next one's teammate.
I'd probably say Jeff McLaren. He's a great story, actually. Football guy, played at the University of Rhode Island for a year and then transferred to Wesleyan. He's a doctor now. He was bored in the spring because we didn't have spring football, and he was like, "Hey, can I come play lacrosse?" And he took to it like a madman, and was starting, and I think a captain his senior year, and played for the Vermont Voyagers for a bunch of years. He's a great dude, great teammate. Always smile on his face, team first.
Good answer. Defender.
Nicky Polanco. Field guy, I know. But man, I'll tell you, like, when I was in college watching him, he just played with this kind of like viciousness that you were like, wow, like that's legal. But he was also very skilled. So it was kind of like a really cool mix. So he was always like a prototypical, like kind of tall, athletic, good stick skills, and just mean. So
No, he was definitely mean. I remember seeing highlights of that. Goals.
Lyle again. I feel like he could be the answer for a lot of questions. But yeah, I think the goal. It's not necessarily the number of goals he scores. He does score a lot of goals. It's just the way he scores some of them, where you're just like, that shouldn't be that easy for anybody. All right, but he's put in the work, so he deserves it.
The next word is agitator.
Jonas Dirks. I've never seen an O guy be such an agitator. He's amazing. He was my roommate at 1 year over in Prague too, and helped me out a lot. We'd like go back and watch the games replays, and he'd be like, "You did that wrong," and so I did it less wrong the next day. He was awesome. Big fan. Jonas, what's up?
The next word is coach.
Coach. Coach Lewis, Coach Reba. Was my high school coach, my college coach, and those guys were just were top-notch individuals. You know, in terms of bringing me along as a young man. Forget about the lacrosse stuff, right? But in terms of like helping me become a better person, those two guys are it.
And the last word is team.
Team. Wesleyan. Yeah, I mean, I had some great years there, and there was something special. You know, we had a good group of guys there, so it was definitely a fond memory of playing there for 4 years.
That the Jonas comment made me crack up quite a bit there. I'm sure he'll get a good kick out of that because he certainly is a good agitator. And speaking about him and how I met you, we met at the Alice Herbeski Invitational Tournament. Can you kind of talk about that tournament experience and what it's like to go over there?
Yeah, I went over 2012 for the first year with the Salt Shakers, a lot of like kind of Philly-based guys, and they didn't go back the next year, so I played with I think Love You to Death, Scotty Comer and crew, and then Nova Scotia the next year, 2014. Took 2 years off, played with the Gales for 2 years. Last year went back and brought my own team for the first time, the Moon Bears. So this is 7 trips, something like the 6 trips, 5 teams. I don't know. One more trip than teams. Gales are the only team I played for twice. I don't know what that says about you guys. But, so it just – that tournament, you talk about bringing people together from all over, like not only all over Europe, but you get Canadian guys from the West Coast, from the East Coast. You get American guys from all over. You'll have a guy from Argentina there. You'll have – I mean, it's like mind-blowing to see all the connections and the short games. You get to see matchups you'd never see, like a local Czech club playing like the Hong Kong national team. You're like, okay, cool. Like, when would you ever see that matchup? There, that's where you see it. And that just kind of permeates the entire atmosphere. And then you add in good Czech beer and, you know, good music playing. And they really do a fantastic job of running an all-day event with food. You know, kids are involved, and there's giveaways and Glasgow. And I mean, it's just, you know, it's like everything that you have going on there is a lot of fun. I think it draws in the right kind of people. You know, it used to be kind of like it's in April, you know, that's like when a lot of the guys are coaching in college or playing, you know, field lacrosse or doing their other stuff. So it's like a heavy lacrosse time. So it really only draws in like these like crazy diehard, I need to go to Europe and play box lacrosse people, you know, or like, you know, Will's got an opening there, right? Like that's a time of the year when it used to work for you to go play. So you went and played. But it's like, you got to put something into it to get over there and make a commitment to it. And so that atmosphere and the job that they do over there, the community that they built is truly something special. I mean, you kind of have to go there. Like people always say that, you know, you have to go there and people are like, yeah. You always say that about everywhere, but it's really true there. Like you go there and you're like, oh, okay, I get it. And then you finish your first day and you're like, now I get it. Like, okay, this makes sense. This is why people come back to this for 10 straight years. So, yeah, the crew over there, the Radatine crew, they do an unbelievable job of running that tournament. It's a first-class professional event, no question about it. And then the people just make it better and better.
No, I got an offer from my buddy from New Zealand, who I met at the Worlds, to go play in it this year. And I was planning on it until, you know, everything happened. But while you talk about the growth of the game in Europe, I experienced it firsthand, seeing at the World Championships just how much better these teams are getting. Talk about how much more competitive it's getting with these European-based teams. I
think the great thing and kind of the question for each of these countries, because it's still small enough that it is kind of based like country by country, and not necessarily city by city or club by club. But I think the biggest thing that you see in the countries that are successful is when a generation of players kind of retire. They stop playing the game, like for the A team, Berlin or LCC Radatine or whoever, and they stay involved. And that is kind of that like pushing point. did they have such a good experience playing lacrosse that they're like, my kids are going to play, I'm going to coach and ref until I have kids, and then after my kids are out of diapers, I'm going to go back to reffing and coaching. Like, did the bug bite them that hard? And I think in Germany, you're starting to see that. I think in Ratatine, you've seen that since the beginning, right? So those guys who were in the photos playing, 30 years ago, box lacrosse or whatever, like, those are the guys who are in the tournament today. So when you have that, I think you start to like take up that kind of next jump level. I think you're starting to see it in Finland right now, which is really exciting. You see it more in Sweden. Some of the guys are kind of staying involved a little bit further. You see it a little bit more in the Netherlands, because if that doesn't happen, all of a sudden you have no leadership, and then you just have a bunch of like 20-somethings running around drinking beer, and it's fun, but it's not going to lead to youth programs. It's not going to lead to sustainability, and it's not going to lead to a competitive national team culture. It's just never going to happen. So it really is. It's that question of when you're done with the game playing, are you really done with it? Or do you have something that you should now be giving back? So that's a big question for any new area as well, right? In Canada and the US, like when you're done playing, like right now, you go out and you look into some of the Western provinces, right? Like there are all these kids playing. In 20 years, when they're done playing, are they going to stay involved and coach? Because if they do, the growth then is going to be huge. But that's the question. Do you stay involved beyond your days?
Yeah, exactly. And you touched on it. It's definitely one of the coolest and most professional box lacrosse tournaments in the world. And there's every time you go, you create memories that'll last for a lifetime. And kind of going into what the LaxNai Tournament that you co-founded in Syracuse, New York, can you kind of talk about being the co-founder of one of the other coolest box tournaments in the world right now?
Yeah, I mean, we're pretty open about the fact that we, Scott Neese and I, who's a co-founder with me, we were over in Prague. We saw what it was. We said, why isn't there something in North America? Why isn't there something in the fall where, like NLL level players, guys who are playing in April, can play in the tournament alongside guys who might play in that tournament or guys who might not. And, then the 2015 Worlds took place. And it was like, okay, Onondaga is the spot. And like, it's a great cultural lesson for everybody to be able to go there and see and learn and talk to people and experience different things. You have the history of the game. You have a wooden stick culture that I think people really enjoy, and probably the greatest current, living wooden stick maker, and Alfie Jacques. I mean, Warren Lyons is there. There's a big confluence, I think, of culture and lacrosse and history. And so to be able to take the same format tournament, short games, where sure that, Thompson brothers might be playing, Poland's national team, and it might be a little bit lopsided, but it's only a 30-minute game. Right? And so everybody gets a chance. You get the chance to go try and cover Lyle and Miles and Randy and all those guys. And then you're like, all right, Randy just scored 8 goals on me. Cool. Next time I cover him, he's only going to score 5, or whatever. Like for everybody, it provides that kind of jumping off point to get better and have a good experience. And so we're really thankful that the pros have bought in as much as they have and want to play in this event against, guys who are not professional players. So for us, it's really fun to try to mimic that sense of community. It's going to be different, right? There's no beer. We don't do any of that stuff in Onondaga. It's a different experience than it is in Prague, but we wanted to try to pull the same kind of feeling of community and, top level teams playing mid-level teams and seeing where you stand and getting better.
Talk about the facilities there. Obviously, I got to play in that tournament this year with Team Weekend. Coming up short, obviously got second place, unfortunately, but it was a hell of a tournament. Talk about the Onondaga Fieldhouse and just the facilities and how much that improves. Like that place is incredible. Yeah,
the Fieldhouse is really, I mean, for my money, it might be the best kind of purely box lacrosse facility. The floor is really soft and nice, and the benches are nice, and the wooden architecture. I mean, just everything kind of about it is a great place to play. I think the rink in Ratatine, in terms of a fan experience, is maybe a little bit better. And I think that, some of the arenas, obviously, you go to any MSL arena, it's a great experience there. But the Nation Fieldhouse, I don't know, they're just, you kind of drive up, it's isolated, it's off by itself. It's not a huge imposing building. And you get inside and it's loud, and it's, you can open up all the rollers on the side. You almost feel like you're playing indoor, outdoor. There's just, it has something there that you kind of feel when you step in the doors. And I think the history of the world's being played there. There's all these flags hanging on the walls, and it's kind of a special place. And to be on the Nation is really nice. There are kids carrying around sticks, from 2 years and up. Every kid is walking around with a stick and playing lacrosse and talking about this and that, and it's just that location is great. We've been able to play in the arena as well, which I think is really a pretty superb and intimate place where you can pack in about 2,000 fans, 1,500 fans. We played games in the old outdoor box, and some people kind of complain a little bit because it messes up their pretty shoes or their sticks or whatever, but because you're playing on grass and inside plywood. But to play outdoor on a box that's been played on for decades, and they replaced another box where Jim Brown played. And I don't know. I think there's something about getting back, and some people don't feel it. Some people don't get it, and they're just like, I just want lacrosse. I just want it to be perfect. And it's like, and everybody else is like, no, we're glad we're here. So you have to kind of have that attitude of like, we're glad we're here. We're happy to be here and part of this experience. I think it makes it better. But if you keep that kind of open mind, and Onondaga is just, it's awesome, and it's like it's a very open weekend, and that's a lot of fun.
Oh no, it was an absolute blast. And unfortunately, due to COVID-19, this year's tournament won't be happening. How hard was that to cancel this year's tournament for you?
It's hard in the sense that you want to run something that you care about and you want to provide an opportunity to people. But it was easy in the sense that if you want to provide an opportunity to people, you need them to be alive. So it just, for us, it came down to being a pretty simple decision. It didn't look like we have things under control. It doesn't look like we don't even know if the borders will be open. And people put a lot of effort into putting these teams in. So we don't want people to put in all this effort and have it not happen. Or people put in a quarter effort and then it does happen and they're not happy with how it went. So, I think it's in one of these cases when you're talking about mass casualties, safer than sorry is always the right route.
What's the golden plan for this tournament? What's your ideal kind of big future for this tournament?
There's a part of me that says I want it to be X. I have an idea for it. And then there's another part of me that says, let's see where it goes. You can always try to constrain things and create one thing or another. We added U18 and U15 divisions last year, and that went well. I think there's a possibility we could add U13. We could do a lot of different things. There are a lot of different places to go with that. Maybe a Masters tournament that isn't like Senior C, right? We're not just playing gloves and helmets. Maybe we let the Masters players get after it for 30 minutes under international rules against other Masters players, right? So there's a lot of different chances. I know as a guy who's almost 40, I would much more enjoy playing against other people who are almost 40, just because I can't run with like a 21-year-old. It's not happening. But so we're kind of looking at that, and we're just going to kind of take it as it goes. And the idea though is if we can create something big and community focused, then there's going to be an opportunity for learning and education and enjoyment. And those are kind of our key drivers, is just putting together good experience that people want to come back to. And so what people need and what they want is what we're going to try to offer them up.
2021, I'll be there. Don't worry. Maybe I'll bring an Ottawa team or my Baltimore team.
Love it. Either way, both are welcome.
Oh, perfect. And it's a great tournament. And I think lacrosse fans, if they get to experience something like that, they'd be absolutely thrilled. It's like an experience of a lifetime to go to something like that. So we're going to get into another segment here. It's called This or That. So it's 10 things, 5 lacrosse and 5 just everyday life. Jake's going to give you 2. You just got to say pick one without any explanation or anything like that.
All right,
here we go. Field or box lacrosse?
Box.
PLL or MLL?
Pass.
Favorite field shot, shooting down the alley or turn the corner from X?
Funny enough, alley. Also my favorite box goal. Well, you know that.
The Mega Men or the Green Gales?
Green Gales.
Onondaga Fieldhouse or LCC Raritan Outdoor Facility?
Oh, that's actually an easy one. Raritan, because I'm not working.
All right. College football or college basketball?
Basketball.
Rudy or Remember the Titans?
Remember the Titans.
Cold winter or hot summer?
Cold winter, baby.
Dunkin' Donuts or Krispy Kreme?
Duncan.
Yeah, I guess Mass guy makes sense.
Can't help that. Yeah.
Ford Mustang or Dodge Challenger?
Dodge Challenger, because it was an Archer. See, that marketing worked.
That's awesome. So obviously you've been around the game for most of your life and you've created a lot of memories. Are there any memories that stick out the most to you?
It's there are definitely some. I think being on the field after we just lost, like what is your last kind of college game. That's a memory I won't forget. And as much as it was kind of like heartbreaking, it's a memory that you're like, I'm sad because of 4 good years. Throwing around in the side yard with my parents and my brother. That'll be a memory that I'll never forget. Playing that first season of lacrosse in 4th grade with just like a dusty two bar bucket on. I mean, terrible, but it was awesome. I'll never forget that. Those are the kind of the memories. It's not a lot of big games. It's not a lot of that stuff. It's some practices. It's some heartfelt one-on-ones. Like those are the moments I think that I'll remember. That I remember today, at least.
Yeah, no, exactly. And memories are it's always about what's the best part about the game. And I think the memories will stick with you forever. And so this is going to lead us into our last point here. We're going to talk about officials in the game. And over the last few years, there's been a lot of abuse towards the referees in the game. And what Jake and I are trying to do is kind of help the officials out. And we want to talk to everybody about who their favorite official is and why. So we're going to ask you that first.
I'd have to say Bob Boniello. He refs some of our New York City box lacrosse games. He's a Long Island guy through and through. Played down in Maryland, and he's a character. Like everybody manages the game in their own way, right? And Bob has like a very unique way that he manages the game, but he manages it. And if you're not playing by the rule set that he's determined we're playing by, he's great. And he's funny, and halftime lasts as long as it does to finish a beer. So, no, Bob's an awesome guy. He brings a lot of humor out, to a lot of Sunday morning men's games.
Well, it's awesome for sure. And I think bringing humor into the kind of the official side of the game is kind of beneficial for them. And you've had a lot of experience coaching. And is there any advice that you give to maybe younger coaches or coaches in the game of lacrosse that kind of help eliminate the abuse towards the officials?
Yeah, I think everybody's got to kind of come to the realization on their own, but there are certain facts that you can't really escape, and one of those is we cannot play sports at a high competitive level without referees, right? Like it's just not going to happen. Like the self-call stuff and self-enforced, it's not sustainable. It's not going to last. So, that's kind of the first step. All right, we need them. The second step is a lot of them were players. A lot of them were coaches. A lot of them are parents. I don't think any of them are doing it for like a power trip, So you got to look at them and be like, all right, they're not just referees. These are people choosing to come out and do like the least thankful job on the planet. And so you start thinking about it that way, and all of a sudden, like maybe that slashing call, maybe it wasn't the right call, but like, do we really need to like go crazy about this and get on the guy's case? And I get it. You're animated and you're a fan, you want to cheer, you're a coach, and you feel some sort of pressure. I've felt it. I understand that. But I think we got to look outside ourselves a little bit. At the end of the day, it's just sports, right?
Yeah, exactly.
They're super important, right? People care about them. They make a big difference, but like, they're just sports, so like part of accepting the decision is accepting the decision and knowing that certain things are out of your control. And these are all useful lessons that we can teach the kids that we're coaching and ourselves. So I think you guys are spot on. I applaud you for what you're doing because, they're an integral part of the game. And at the end of the day, they're also people. People are trying to do the right thing, not only in the job that they've taken on, but I don't see referees trying to make the wrong call, or provide a bad experience for people. I just don't see it. So I think we got to give them the benefit of the doubt a little bit more, open up lines of communication, say thank you a little bit more often, and not approach things in such an adversarial manner.
Yeah, I think you nailed that right on the head. You said they're an integral part of the game, and at the end of the day, they're human as well, and people do make mistakes. So We really appreciate you coming on here and talking to us. And I also appreciate everything you do for the game of lacrosse. You do a tremendous job of growing the game around the world and in the US. And I think it's awesome what you do. So really appreciate your time here with us today.
Fellas, thanks for having me on, and I'm really looking forward to this. I mean, if these are the kind of conversations you're having, I think that a lot of your listeners will get something out of it, and you're doing your part in terms of trying to spread this sport around, right? So that more people get to experience what lacrosse is all about. So thank you for having me on, and thanks for doing what you're doing. I hope you keep it up. Good luck.
Thanks, Connor.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the Sticks and Picks Lacrosse podcast presented by Lacrosse Unlimited. If you are looking for the best lacrosse equipment on the market or any specific brand, check out lacrosseunlimited.com. There you will find everything that you are looking for. Don't forget to follow us on our social media pages on Twitter and Instagram at SticksPicksLax and on Facebook at Sticks and Picks Lacrosse. You can listen to all of our episodes on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, SoundCloud, and YouTube under Sticks and Picks Lacrosse. A reminder that Major Series Lacrosse is given the opportunity for lacrosse fans to watch games every Thursday night, including your chance to win a large 50-50 jackpot each week. Details are on our social media pages.